In 2006, a Harley wasn't just a bike, it was a religion, the American dream, freedom on two wheels. But that dream has slowly turned into a nightmare. The glory turned into greed. This isn't just a story about falling sales, it's about betrayal. Harley Davidson took the most loyal customers in history and cheated them on quality and price. They traded their legacy for quarterly profits. Let's expose the truth about how the kings of the road sold their crown. The beginning. Harley Davidson was untouchable. They were shipping nearly 350,000 bikes a year. Their stock was soaring like an eagle. They were the envy of every brand on earth. Honda wanted to be them. Yamaha tried to copy them, but nobody could touch the bar and Batwing. But somewhere along the way, the script flipped. The dream turned into a nightmare. The glory turned into greed. Today, the brand is fighting for its life. Sales are plummeting. The core customer is aging out. And the young generation, they aren't buying. They don't care about the dinosaur Harley Davidson has become. And you know what is worse of it all? They did this. They cheated you on quality. They cheated you on price. They cheated you on innovation. And worst of all, they cheated you on the very identity of what it means to ride a Harley. They traded everything for quarterly profits, and today the bill is due. They took the rebel spirit and packaged it for Wall Street. They took the outlaw and turned him into a commodity. But it was not always this way. Harley was once Harley. Let's go back to their glory days. The peak 2006, the golden age. To understand the magnitude of the betrayal, you have to remember the glory. You have to go back to 2006. Harley Davidson was the king of the road. They controlled half of the entire heavyweight motorcycle market in the United States. Think about that. One out of every two big bikes sold was a Harley. The stock price had split multiple times. Dealerships were palaces. If you wanted a fat boy, you didn't just walk in and buy one. You put down a deposit. You waited 6 months, and you were happy to do it. You thanked them for the privilege of waiting. It was the era of wild hogs. It was the era where doctors, lawyers, and factory workers all rubbed shoulders at bike nights. The rub, rich urban biker, and the hardcore club member rode the same machines. The brand united the country. It was pure Americana. The sound of a V-twin was the sound of freedom. It was the sound of winning. Harley promised you a machine that was overbuilt, heavy metal, real steel, made in America. They promised that if you bought a Harley, it would hold its value better than gold. And for a long time, it was true. You could ride a Heritage Softail for 2 years and sell it for what you paid for it. It was an investment. It was safe. But while the champagne was flowing in Milwaukee, the ROT was already setting in. The management saw the numbers and got greedy. They decided that selling motorcycles was too hard. Building engines was expensive. Developing chassis technology was difficult. They wanted to sell something easier. They wanted to sell something with higher margins. They decided to stop being a motorcycle manufacturer and start being a lifestyle brand. And that is when the cheating began. The branding trap, selling the shirt, not the bike. The first way Harley cheated its riders was by shifting focus from engineering to fashion. Sometime around 2008, the executives realized something profound. It is cheaper to make a t-shirt in China than it is to build an engine in Milwaukee. And the margins on the t-shirt are higher. Suddenly, the dealerships changed. They were forced to remodel. The parts and service counters, the heart and soul of the shop where the mechanics lived, were pushed to the back, hidden away like a dirty secret. The front of the store became a clothing boutique. You walked in, and you didn't smell oil, gas, and tires. You smelled potpourri and expensive leather. You saw mannequins instead of motorcycles. They started targeting the lifestyle buyer, the guy who wanted to look like a biker on Halloween, but didn't actually want to ride across the country. They watered down the image. They commoditized the rebellion. They took the patched vest, a symbol of earning your miles, and sold pre-distressed leather jackets for $500 to guys who rode desk chairs. For the die-hard rider, this was a slap in the face. The guy who had been riding Harleys since 1975 walked into his local dealer and couldn't find a spark plug in stock, but he could find a branded dog bowl, a Harley Davidson wine glass, and a logo-embossed cheese board. The company stopped caring about the miles you rode and started caring about the merchandise you bought. They turned a counterculture movement into a costume party. They cheated you by diluting the coolness of the brand to make a quick buck on t-shirts. If you've been here a while, you already know what Iron Pulse is about. We dropped the essentials: old school, rider-made style; the cap, for long miles and windy days; the tee, for the garage, the ride, and everywhere in between; the mug, for early starts and late nights planning the next run. No hype, just the mark. 20% off right now. Link in the description down below. While they were busy selling fashion, the Japanese and Europeans were busy building better bikes, and Harley's refusal to innovate would cost them dearly. The innovation stagnation, the twin cam era. Here is the hard truth. For almost 20 years, Harley Davidson barely changed their bikes. They rested on their laurels while the world moved forward. From 1999 to 2017, the twin cam engine was the workhorse. It was a good engine, but it had flaws, major flaws. The cam chain tensioners were ticking time bombs. They were made of cheap plastic that would disintegrate and destroy your engine. The heat was unbearable in traffic. The vibration loosened bolts. But did Harley fix it quickly? No. They let the aftermarket fix it. They let you pay to fix their design flaws. They sold you the Screamin' Eagle upgrade kit to fix the problem they created. That is the definition of cheating your customer. Meanwhile, Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki were innovating. They were building bikes that were lighter, faster, stopped better, and ran cooler. They introduced ABS brakes, traction control, and liquid cooling years before Harley did. BMW was building bikes that could cross continents without breaking a sweat. Harley cheated you by charging a premium price for ancient technology. They marketed heritage as an excuse for laziness. They told you that liquid cooling wasn't real Harley. They told you that vibration was character. They told you that oil leaks were just marking its territory. In reality, they were saving money on R&D. They knew you would buy the bike anyway because of the logo on the tank. They exploited your loyalty. They relied on the fact that Harley riders wouldn't look at a Honda. They took your blindness and used it against you. They sold you 1950 technology at 2020 prices. Do you think character is just an excuse for bad engineering? Hit that like button if you believe a $30,000 bike shouldn't leak oil or overheat in traffic. But eventually the sales started to slip. They realized they had to attract new riders. So they built new bikes. And that is when the quality fell off a cliff. The quality nosedive. The Street Series, disaster. To chase new customers and higher profits, Harley started cutting corners. The Made in America legend began to crack under the weight of corporate greed. In 2014, Harley launched the Street Series. These were liquid-cooled, smaller bikes designed to compete with the metric cruisers and attract young urban riders. There was just one problem. They were junk. Absolute garbage. The fit and finish were terrible. The wiring was exposed and messy, looking like a rat's nest. The brakes were spongy and weak. The welds looked like they were done in the dark by someone who had never held a torch before. It was a bike built to a price point, and it showed. It didn't feel like a Harley. It didn't sound like a Harley. It felt like a cheap knockoff with a bar and shield sticker slapped on it. It was an insult to the badge. Harley started sourcing more and more parts from overseas. Forks from Showa, brakes from Brembo, which is good but not American. Electronics from China, suspensions from Japan. They cheated you on the promise of American manufacturing. They kept the price high, claiming it was a premium domestic product, while the global supply chain did the heavy lifting. You were paying for Milwaukee steel and getting global plastic. Suddenly, recalls became common. Brake failures, clutch issues, oil line leaks. The bulletproof reputation was shattered. Riders were spending more time in the service department than on the road. And when they complained, corporate told them it was normal. They gaslit their own customers. They failed with the cheap bikes, so they swung for the fences with the most expensive, controversial bike in their history, a bike that nobody asked for. The Livewire disaster, chasing ghosts. In a desperate bid to look modern and eco-friendly to investors, Harley Davidson gave us the Livewire, the electric Harley. The bike itself was actually okay. It was fast, it handled well, But the strategy was insane. They priced it at $30,000. Let me repeat that. $30,000 for an electric motorcycle with a range of maybe 100 miles on the highway. Who was this for? The traditional Harley rider hates electric vehicles. They want noise. They want vibration. They want to smell gas. They want to shift gears. The young, eco-conscious rider, they don't have $30,000. They are buying e-bikes or Zeros for half the price. Harley tried to please everyone and please no one. This cheated the riders because it siphoned millions of dollars in R&D money away from the core bikes. Instead of building a better touring frame or a better suspension for the Street Glide or fixing the wobble on the Dynas, they burned cash on a vanity project to impress Wall Street. They neglected the people who were buying bikes to chase people who would never buy bikes. They abandoned the loyalists to chase the futurist, and they lost both. While the company was chasing ghosts, the core customer, the guy who kept the lights on for decades, was facing a new reality. He was being priced out of his own culture. Pricing out the blue-collar hero. This is the deepest cut of all. This is the heart of the betrayal. Harley Davidson was built by the working class. It was the bike of the returning GI, the factory worker, the mechanic, the truck driver, the plumber. Today, walk into a dealership, a Street Glide. Special costs $32,000 out the door. A CV or Road Glide costs $45,000. Even a Sportster S is $17,000. Who has $45,000 of disposable income for a toy? Not the factory worker, not the mechanic. Harley gentrified the brand. They decided they didn't want blue-collar money anymore. They wanted dentist money. They wanted hedge fund money. They wanted lawyer money. They raised prices faster than inflation. They added surcharges and setup fees and freight fees. They turned the motorcycle into a luxury status symbol, like a Rolex or a Louis Vuitton bag. The guy who rode a Harley in 1990 cannot afford a Harley in 2026. He has been left behind. The brand used his image, the tough, gritty biker, to sell bikes to rich weekend warriors. They stole his culture, polished it up, marked it up 50%, and sold it to someone who doesn't know how to change their own oil. They sold the blue-collar dream to the white-collar wallet, and in doing so, they lost the soul of the machine. Are you priced out of the new market? Subscribe if you are keeping your old bike running, because the new ones are just too expensive. The riders felt the pain, but the people who felt it the most were the ones on the front lines, the dealers, the dealer network purge. Harley didn't just cheat the riders, they cheated the people who sold the bikes. They cheated the backbone of their distribution network. Under the new hardwire strategy, Harley Corporate told dealers, build a Taj Mahal or get out. They demanded million-dollar renovations. They demanded marble floors and boutique lighting. They demanded dealers carry huge inventories of bikes that weren't selling, like the Livewire in the street. If the mom-and-pop dealers couldn't afford it, Harley pulled their franchise. They systematically closed smaller, rural dealers, the ones who knew your name, the ones who supported the local charity rides, the ones who hosted the chili cook-offs. They forced consolidation into massive mega dealers owned by automotive groups. This cheated the rider because it killed the community. You used to ride to the local shop to hang out, drink coffee, and talk bikes with the owner. Now the shop is a cold, sterile sales floor where the staff is on commission and doesn't ride. They don't know the difference between a twin cam and an Evo. They just want to sell you an extended warranty and gap insurance. They destroyed the clubhouse feel and replaced it with a car dealership feel. They turned a family into a transaction. So where does that leave us today? The company is scrambling. The stock is volatile, and the legacy is tarnished. The refusal to adapt. Too little, too late. The ultimate cheat was hubris. Harley Davidson believed their own hype. They believed they were too big to fail. They believed that American iron was enough to ignore reality. They ignored the adventure bike market for 20 years while BMW ate their lunch. The BMW GS became the best-selling bike in the world, and Harley pretended it didn't exist. When they finally released the Pan America, it was a good effort, but it was late. They were playing catch-up in a game they should have been leading. They ignored the naked bike market while Ducati and Yamaha took over. They teased the Bronx Street Fighter, a bike that people actually wanted, and then canceled it at the last minute. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory because they were afraid to alienate the traditional customer, yet they had already alienated them with the Livewire. They watched their customer base age. The average Harley rider is now over 50. They did nothing to authentically connect with the 20-year-olds. They just assumed the young guys would grow into Harleys when they got old and rich. They didn't. The young guys bought Triumphs and Indians. They bought bikes that were fun, fast, and affordable. Harley cheated themselves out of a future by clinging to the past. Indian Motorcycle came back from the dead. Polaris bought the name and built a bike that looked like a Harley, but ran like a modern machine. It was liquid-cooled, powerful, reliable, and fast. Indian proved that you could build an American cruiser without being stuck in the Stone Age. Harley had no answer. Indian exposed Harley's laziness. The Wall Street heist. Profits over passion. You might ask, where did all the money go? Harley was making billions during the good years. Why didn't they build a better chassis? Why didn't they fix the cam tensioners sooner? Why didn't they lower the price? Here is the sickening truth. They spent billions on stock buybacks. Instead of investing in R&D to build a better bike for you, they bought their own stock to pump up the price for Wall Street. They starved the engineering department to feed the shareholders. They decided that a high stock price was more important than a high-quality motorcycle. They looted the company's future to pay for the executives' bonuses today. They treated the company like a piggy bank, raiding the coffers while the Japanese and Europeans were reinvesting every dime into making their bikes faster, safer, and more reliable. This is the ultimate cheat. They didn't invest in the bike, they invested in the boardroom. And you are the one paying for it. Harley Davidson didn't just lose sales, they broke a covenant. There was an unwritten agreement between the brand and the rider. We will be loyal to you. We will tattoo your logo on our skin. We will defend your honor in every bar argument if you build us a bike worthy of that loyalty. Harley failed to hold up their end of the bargain. They took the loyalty for granted. They squeezed every dime out of the culture without putting value back in. They cheated you by thinking you were stupid enough to pay more for less. Can they survive? Maybe. The Pan America is a start. The new Sportster S is a start. But the trust is gone. You can fix a machine, but it is much harder to fix a broken heart. You can retool a factory, but you cannot retool a reputation once you sell it out. The American dream on two wheels is still alive, but for many of us, it doesn't live in a Harley Davidson showroom anymore. It lives in the garage, keeping the old bikes running because the new company doesn't deserve us. Harley Davidson built a legend, and then they sold it for scrap. And that is a tragedy that no amount of chrome can cover up. Click on the next video on your screen, and let's forget about Harley for a bit. Subscribe to our channel and visit our shop.